With the best and the worst animated moments of the Resurrection of F arc in the books, it's finally time to decide whether or not it's worth watching over the movie. Both had some great aspects and not so stellar parts, and seeing how they both cover roughly the same part of the Dragon Ball timeline, I feel now is the time to pit them against each other in a battle for the respect of the Dragon Ball community. Our contestants will compete in 5 rounds. Each round represents an area integral to these 2 pieces of Dragon Ball media. It's time to decide once and for all which one should be skipped altogether and which one should be our gospel. This is anime versus movie. Dragon Ball Super versus Resurrection F. Before I begin, having watched 10 hours worth of this arc and after producing 20 minutes worth of detailed analysis concerning it in my last 2 videos, there is nothing more gag-inducing than the thought of having to dive straight back into episode 15 to see Vegeta screaming. Oh, what's that, Vegeta? You're standing on a rock screaming? Didn't see that one coming, bro! But I'd never say that. And this video is bigger than me. Okay, here we go. Dragon Ball fans like the pretty pictures. They do. Heck, I love them. It's easily one of the most interesting topics of discussion within the Dragon Ball community. Who are these faceless phantoms that orchestrate these moving pencil scratchings? It's one of the reasons I made this channel in the first place. There does, however, seem to be a metric crap ton of misinformation out there if my comment section is anything to go by. Comments like, why can't they make it like One Punch Man or Attack on Titan? And really, I think this is due to the animation process being largely and unknown to the vast majority of the fan base. It isn't a subject taught in our schools or a topic tackled in many movies. And over the last couple of months, I have been trying to shine a light on this shadowy subject as best I can. This isn't the video for this discussion, but I might make one in the future, who knows. Now, the main thing to take away from this is that Dragon Ball Super isn't supposed to be better than Resurrection of F, at least from a visual perspective. The animators, directors, and producers knew this. Dragon Ball Super's sole purpose for existing is to increase merchandise sales. That is where Dragon Ball has always made its money. Now, with that said, with the series creator Akira Toriyama bad-mouthing the show's animation quality, I am not about to question the great Toriyama. But I know what you're thinking. If the show is for merch purposes exclusively, then why is he putting down Super? Well, you see, there is a threshold. When you are making a weekly anime, you have to juggle a few balls. Schedule, quality, and the public. Now, for the sake of this not being a 20-minute round discussing animation, let's just say that for the release of Dragon Ball Super back in 2015, things in the scheduling department didn't exactly go the way they wanted, and as a result the quality slipped. The public then swelled into a frenzy, the likes of which would make Goku go Kaio Nope. Resurrection of F, on the other hand, was gorgeous looking, and this was largely due to the schedule of the movie as well as the budget allotted by Toei for the production. This was to be a visual extravaganza. It wasn't just for selling toys, though that was a goal too, but this was to get the franchise off of its laurels for another run, or to be resurrected, if you will. For those of you who were around when this arc was in its run late last year, you'll remember that the #1 thing discussed amongst fans was, why are they doing this again? Why can't they just give us some new stuff? And guess what? I bet my life that the animators were thinking the exact same thing. Imagine having already worked on a visually demanding movie like Resurrection F, and then being faced with 1 more year to work on the exact same story, only with less time and pay. Of course they'll try their best, but the scenario doesn't exactly breed passion, now does it? Maybe that's why my favorite parts of this arc were from the scenes that didn't make it into the movie. They were probably Toei's favorite parts to make as well. Regardless, nothing in the series quite stands up to the movie's aesthetics. Point goes to the movie. Considering Frieza is the movie's title character, I thought it only fitting that I give him his own category. Beat for beat, both the anime and the movie hit all the key plot points. Revive Frieza, the rejuvenation tank, Frieza's plan. Frieza comes to Earth, but how this is executed is at least a little different. Frieza's plan in both the anime and the movie is to train for a period of time to achieve a new level of strength. What the anime did differently to the movie, however, was give us a glimpse at the horror that was Frieza's training. Togama would be beaten and brutalized by Frieza. At the end of each day, Togama would have to drag his body into the rejuvenation tank before he would continue training the next day. Forget Deadpool, who was in a chamber for a few days. Togama was victimized and brought to the brink of death every single day for 4 damn months. It really brings an aura of terror to Frieza, helps the audience see him as a true maniac. Resurrection F, the movie, expected fans to know all the backstory going in. It did nothing for the casual viewer. The anime gave just enough character exposition as well as interesting interactions for the audience to enjoy, no matter what level of fan they were. Now, in saying that, I realize Frieza is an established character within the Dragon Ball mythos, and you will most certainly find many fans watching these scenes thinking, I already know this. However, these scenes aren't for them. It's for the thousands of children who might be new to the series and don't know who Frieza is. But as I said, his character is already fully fleshed out, and while I think the added scenes of Frieza brutalizing Togama might be fun, they are not as important as Beerus's in the Battle of Gods movie, which is why I will only award the anime half a point. Ugh, half points. Don't get used to it, just this once off. This one here is actually quite interesting, I think, as it should be. It concerns the two most prevalent characters in the entire series, the Prince of all Saiyans Vegeta and our main protagonist Goku. Both portrayals are actually quite great, I must say, but an extra dimension was added to this equation that I feel is worth considering. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So let's start from the beginning. The movie has us begin with these two as they are training with Whis. The most important thing to take from this is that this exact scene is done in the anime too on episode 19. It hits all the same notes as this scene does in the movie. It even looks great! The anime, however, begins on episode 15 as it should with Vegeta. Vegeta, on the rock, enraged that Goku has slid further and further ahead of him. Skip forward and Whis agrees to train Vegeta on his own. The anime doesn't start covering what the movie did until episode 19. This means that the anime has the added advantage of covering the training Goku and Vegeta had prior to this scene from the movie. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to see the kind of training that Vegeta and Goku would undergo together if the occasion arose. Why? Because it would be awesome! And episode 19 of the anime was awesome! It was funny and it was awesome. Fawesome! Dragon Ball really went back to its roots with this one. And ultimately, this became my favorite episode of the arc. The movie didn't think to include such scenes, and in my opinion suffers because of it. In the movie, Super Saiyan Blue doesn't feel earned. It just sort of feels like something added on for the sake of having a transformation in a movie. Now, you might still believe that Super Saiyan Blue is forced in the anime also, but even you guys must admit that it felt so much more organic when we saw what these guys went through to achieve that power. It made more sense. In the movie, there is so little Vegeta, it's almost sickening. Now, in saying that, the movie's fight is infinitely better, and to even compare the two is an insult to the movie. But we are not discussing which had the best fight here. We are discussing the characters, and the movie's portrayal of Vegeta is lacking in my opinion. Having only about 25 lines by the time he begins his fight with Frieza, Vegeta is seriously lacking in dialogue of any kind. The anime, on the other hand, gives Vegeta much more exposure and is better off because of it. And yes, I know the animation sucks, but if you were looking at this from a purely character-driven point of view, the anime just gives us much more bang for our buck. And these aren't even the most important differences. Nope, that comes a little later, and is probably the most important piece of information revealed about Goku and Vegeta in both the anime or the movie. But I'm going to park that for now and discuss it in a later round. For now, it's close, but if I'm being honest, the anime did both Goku and Vegeta much better. Point goes to the anime. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most one-sided category in this entire video. The movie is gorgeous looking. We had discussed that in the animation section already, but when it comes to fight choreography, the movie has it won easily. Be it Bruce Lee's one-inch punch, the base form Goku exchange with Frieza, the fight's beginning, Goku's Kamehameha versus Frieza's death ball. There are so many great moments to this fight that are both captivating and interesting. The anime, on the other hand, looked like a bunch of wooden puppets dancing across our screen. I've ranted on this before, but the anime's battle had so many blast sequences, I don't care if I'll ever see one again. The anime's version of this fight is easily the worst battle in all of Dragon Ball. Nothing visually interesting happens at all, and when it's compared to the movie's version of the same fight, it's like comparing Raditz to Whis. It shouldn't even be in the same conversation because the latter is so far beyond anything the former is. Bad animation I can excuse, but the lack of imagination that went into this fight is almost insulting. Point goes to the movie hands down. Remember when I said that the points I made about Goku and Vegeta weren't even the most important ones? Well, the reason I didn't include that in the Goku and Vegeta category was due to it primarily concerning the story. The main story of this movie / arc is that of Goku and Vegeta. That's right, it's not Frieza. Frieza might play a pivotal role in all of this, but at the end of the day, he's just a catalyst for Goku and Vegeta's story. And the entire story stems from that brief dialogue Whis has with both Goku and Vegeta on Beerus's world. In short, he explains to Vegeta the reason why he's Goku's lesser, telling him that while he is a gifted fighter, his nerves are wound just too tight, that he needs to rest when the opportunity presents itself, so that he can react without thinking. He then explains that Goku has the opposite problem, letting his guard down too frequently and being far too overconfident. This comes into play later in the story for both. For this example, I will be using the moment Goku and Vegeta land on the battlefield up until the end of the movie or arc as a time frame to illustrate my points. This ends up being the last 40 minutes of the movie and the last 4 episodes of the arc. But what's the difference, you might be asking? Well, in short, the movie is very Goku-centric, and the anime, while developing Goku, also develops Vegeta equally. Those of you that have seen the movie might recognize this scene as the only one that is significant to what Whis warned them about. And that's because Vegeta directly references it when speaking with Goku as he's lying there on the floor defeated. In the anime, however, there are many more instances that echo Whis' words. As Goku and Vegeta touch down on the battlefield, Togama, Sorbet, Frieza's army, and Frieza himself stand before them. 3 of these 4 pieces will come into play, and this is how it plays out. It begins when Vegeta doesn't take any chances and destroys Togama from the get-go. Playing on the Goku being too unguarded and overconfident, Captain Ginyu in Togama's body would have almost certainly wreaked havoc on the Z-Warriors. Vegeta was correct to eliminate him from the equation, but I don't think Goku was capable of making such a quick decision. When Goku ultimately begins fighting with Frieza, again playing into his overconfidence, Goku doesn't go all out against Frieza right away. However, when Goku fights Frieza at full power, his fighting potential isn't limited by his nerves being wound too tightly. If Vegeta were in this scenario, he may have become frustrated and insulted that he is struggling against Frieza. Remember when he was fighting against Whis earlier? His temper is an issue. Vegeta is the one that brings to Goku's attention that Frieza is weakening, proving that Vegeta is in fact a gifted fighter and that Goku is again too unobservant. Now comes the part that everyone made the connection with. Sorbet fires the ray gun through Goku's chest. This one specifically makes much more sense in the anime since Goku is in his base form when it happened. In the movie he is in Super Saiyan Blue, which makes no sense at all. This again preys on the idea that Goku is too unguarded and trusting when in combat. This is absolutely not something that would have befallen Vegeta. And this final one plays to the last thing we spoke about, being able to move without thinking. To anticipate the opponent's move without processing thought. This final scene where Vegeta stands above Frieza, I think, hits the nail on the head. Neither Goku nor Vegeta were able to stop Frieza from blowing up the earth. This is where I feel Whis used this as a training exercise. Whis quickly reduced time, and Goku does not hesitate to vaporize Frieza from the face of the earth. The anime performs this story much better than the movie does. It has a clear narrative throughout and finishes on a conclusion that makes sense with the story. The anime also had the benefit of telling the story of how Vegeta came to train with Whis in the first place. It also didn't make stupid mistakes like this. For me, it's clear that if anyone looks at this objectively from a story perspective, the anime is the clear winner here. Point goes to the anime. Now, with all the points totted up, the anime wins by half a point, which I have to say isn't very satisfying. And to be quite honest, with a battle as terrible as the anime has, it's really hard to justify watching it over the movie, which is why I have come up with a compromise. I have created an option C. Or should I say, AJ has created an option C. I have sung this man's praises before, but @AnimeAJ on Twitter has created a fan-made version of the Resurrection of F movie that includes some of my favorite scenes from the anime. Altogether, it's much better than both the anime and the movie because it takes the best parts of both. We get to see much more of Vegeta's struggle and training with Goku, but we also see the kick-ass fight sequences from the movie. It's a win-win! It's a really kind gesture, and it just goes to show how creative and hardworking some members of the anime community can be. I'll leave a link to AnimeAJ's Twitter and you can download the fan-made version there. Trust me guys, it's well worth the viewing. I've been Totally Not Mark, and this has been Dragon Ball Super vs Resurrection F. Thank you so much for watching.